Hey there! I'm going to take a quick trip to Walmart today. Thought I would jump on and sort of go over some rider tips and tricks, sort of how-to guide from a newer rider. I've only been riding for a few months now. I've watched a lot of videos and gotten um, information offline and so forth. And some of it worked for me, some of it didn't. Being a new rider, a lot of these, you know, other more experienced riders are giving their tips and tricks, but in my opinion, they're giving it from an experienced rider's perspective. And I think once you learn how to ride and you're comfortable doing certain things, those things may be easy for them, but not for new riders, and certainly not for me on a couple of things. And so I thought I'd talk about the things that I learned, the things that I find most important when I'm out riding around. So first off, we'll talk about gear. Now, my scooter only goes about 20 miles an hour top speed. The Hover One Journey Max is maxed out right at 20 miles an hour. And so I don't go too crazy with the gear. 20 miles an hour, you could get into an accident on a bicycle going 20, pretty on a downhill, or you got some good speed up or something like that. Your top speed, so you can get to 20 miles an hour on a bicycle. And I've had lots of accidents on bicycles as a kid. Never wore any gear at all. I don't recommend that on these because they're a little bit more prone to accidents from what I understand. So minimum, I wear a helmet. Period. Not 99% of the time I wear a helmet. 100% of the time, and if I'm going to the edge of a block and back, I wear a helmet all the time. Gloves, I try to wear like 90% of the time. I try to wear 100% of the time, but I have caught myself jumping on real quick just to go to the end of the block or something, and not worrying about putting gloves on for that. I probably wouldn't regret it if I have no fall on my hands, but not too big of a deal. So some kind of gloves with a nice padding is all you need. So for a helmet, I wear a full face mountain bike style helmet and goggles. To protect my face a bit more, and also to make sure I don't get anything in my eyes, like bugs or rocks or something like that while I'm riding, so it doesn't impair my vision, which can become a problem if I'm trying to stop on a scooter real quick and I need to know what's around me. So I don't want my vision suddenly impaired while I'm in the middle of riding a scooter, and so I wear goggles. So it's pretty self-explanatory there. I wear gloves. I wear these gloves I have are actually pretty new. They're riding gloves. Before that, I wore just garden gloves. They had a nice leather palm, so I felt pretty good. If I had to put my palm down in the fall, I wouldn't scrape up my hands too bad. So your preference on that. And obviously, if you're over 18, you can wear what you want, not what you want. These are just my tips for safe riding. So next, let's talk about ride preparation. One of the things that I do also roughly 100% of the time, unless I'm going to the end of the block, is I check my tire pressure. If I check my tire pressure 100% of the time, obviously, I with my thumb just to kind of gauge it. But if I'm going on an actual trip, like today, I will go ahead and test with a tire gauge, test my tire pressure on the front and back tire of the scooter. And so that leads to less issues, less problems. If you do have a air-filled tire like I do, then check those things. I've heard to check your screws and bolts and nuts and so forth. And I try to glance at that. I wouldn't say I take a screwdriver out and make sure that, or an Allen wrench and make sure everything is tight. But I do take a glance at it, eyeball it, and obviously if I feel something loose, either while I'm riding or inspecting the scooter, then I'll address it. But I haven't had that problem on the scooter yet. Just the air seems to leave the tires a lot faster than I would have expected, as far as air pressure decreasing. And so I've had to almost on every time I ride, like I said, if I'm going on an actual ride, I'll check the tire pressure, and a lot of times I'll put air in it every time. It's not every single time, but it's like, once again, 90% of the time I've had it too. Usually it's the back tire. They both lose air gradually, but the back tire loses air very quickly. So I'm always having to top it off, so to speak. I put in between 40 and 50 psi. If it gets too close to 40, I'll put some in, and I don't put it above 50. And then I will just tap it and put a slight bit of air after that. Just gonna go over here real quick and check on something.
Wait.
I've been tracking this Black Widow over here on at this crosswalk on the other side, near the walk button, and so I guess it's been, like I said, about 6 weeks that I've been tracking this Black Widow that's hanging out here right by the push button on the walk side. So very interesting. The web is still intact, and it looks like there's actually an egg sac. Wow, that's pretty cool. I wasn't expecting that. I wonder if she'll be here much longer, since she laid that egg sac. She might have already moved on. I don't know how long Black Widows live after they lay their eggs, or how many times they lay their egg sac before they die. So not sure about that. Females in general for spiders tend to live a lot longer than males, but it's not positive about how long females live after they lay their egg sac. All right, back to riding. So, like I said, I check my tires. I keep them between 40 and 50 psi before I go out on long rides, or just any decent amount of ride. Usually my rides are only about like today, about 7 to 8 miles total. So I do check on anything. Honestly, I'll check for a mile, even if I'm going a mile. But that's one thing that I definitely check on a regular basis. Next thing I want to talk about is your position and your stance on the scooter. If you're new or you're not sure how that works, most people will just I think automatically stand with both feet together on the scooter and hold on to the handlebars as they propel themselves forward, which kind of seems like a fun way to ride, but it's not the most safest and not the most balanced way to ride. I've heard a few different takes on this particular subject, and in my short period of my time, what I'll say is that ride the way that is most comfortable to you, but with one foot in front of the other. So to me, it doesn't matter which foot you have. I've heard different stories, but I'll say, if you're a new rider and you feel comfortable you know, with your left in front and your right in the back, and, or vice versa, ride that way. If you rather turn your back foot to the side, you know, ride that way. If you'd rather uh, switch it up, that's fine, you know, or ride with them both kind of, you know, straight. All what you feel comfortable doing, because in the beginning, that could be, you know, some of the trickier stuff is thinking about all these different things and trying to remember, not, you know, and then pay attention to what you're doing around you. So I will say, you know, as long as you have one foot in front of the other, not side by side, you're probably heading in the right direction as far as that goes. So, as far, you know, like I said, as far as how you position yourself on the scooter is more about, in my mind, comfortability, especially when you're new. So you don't want a lot of things to think about. So you want to use the most comfortable stance and positioning on the scooter, so that's less to think about. All right, so what else we got here? Let's talk about braking and acceleration. So this kind of has something to do with your stance and positioning as well. So when you're taking off, like on the Hover One Journey Max, it's a fairly fast accelerating scooter, mainly because of the dual motor. So if you just, you know, get on and you hit the accelerator, it's gonna throw you a little bit if you're not prepared. And so that's, you know, you want to make sure that you're standing with a forward lean. You know, your weight is forward when you hit the accelerator, and that way it kind of counterbalances the force that's pushing you back. Think about it like, you know, riding in a car that has decent acceleration. Once you push the gas down, you know, it's going to throw you back into the seat. If it's got enough acceleration, it's going to glue you to the seat. You know, you're not going to be able to pull up forward. So it's a similar force that's occurring when you're taking off on the scooter, and it's going to be pushing you back, except you don't have a seat to support you in the back. And so you've got to support yourself, and you do that by taking a more forward leaning stance, and making sure that you're counteracting those backwards forces putting on you. So that's and then of course the opposite is true when you're coming to a stop. So if you're coming to a stop slowly, you know, it's not as big of a deal, but you still want to be a little bit, you know, sort of leaning back. But if you have to stop abruptly, or you're going fast enough to where you're gonna have to stop, you're gonna want to sit back a little bit. And so as far as like I said, sitting back, you're not pulling on the handlebars as you're going back. You're not trying to pop a wheelie or anything. You're just using your legs to position yourself to where you can counteract those forces. So the pressure is really going into the base of the scooter that you're pushing with your feet as you're coming to a stop. You're not, you know, it's not the handlebars that you're using to stop yourself. It's your feet. And so that's why you put one in front and one in the back, so that when you're taking off, you can put the weight, you know, on one, and then as you're stopping, you can sort of switch that around so that you're counteracting those forces. It's all about your feet and your knees. So let's talk about your knees. Your knees should stay slightly bent all the time. You want to keep your elbows bent and unlocked. You want to keep your knees bent and unlocked. And for me, the faster I'm going, the more I bend my knees. And I'm almost sitting down as I'm riding, just because of the force. If I have to stop real quick, you know, I don't want to be standing up straight. I don't want to have to, you know, make that move real quickly. So if I'm going full speed, my knees are pretty bent, and that's just to be prepared. You know that if you're going fast, you're going to need to be prepared. And then of course, if you have to stop abruptly, you're going to want to sit down even further and counteract those forces. So riding with the knees and elbows bent, put one foot in front of the other, leaning forward when you accelerate, and sort of sitting back. I say more than like leaning back because you don't want to pull the handlebars, but you just want to sit back and put those and strengthen those legs so that you're counteracting those forces. All right. One thing I was going to touch on while you're trying to counteract these forces and get used to the acceleration, if you're new and you have a scooter that has a little bit of get up and go to it, and you have a thumb throttle, I can give you some tips on that because it's what I've sort of learned riding this one that does have a little bit of a kick to it when you accelerate and push the throttle. And that is, if you think about it, the leverage on the scooter, on the throttle that you're pushing. If you have your thumb right towards the pivot point of the throttle up top, then you're going to get a lot more acceleration per millimeter that you move your thumb, right? Because you're at the top, and so every little force that you apply is going to turn it that much more. If you what I do, especially if I'm in a situation where it's necessary. I mean, it all depends on what I'm doing, but certainly like in the beginning when I'm at a stop or going really slow, is I'll move my thumb down to the bottom of the throttle so that I'm barely, my thumb is kind of hanging off the bottom of the throttle as I'm accelerating. And what that does is it gives me more control over the smaller changes. So instead of hitting at the top where the throttle's going to get pushed a little bit more, when I apply pressure, I put it at the lowest possible, that I can, and still have my thumb on the throttle, and I use it further away. It's kind of like a lever. So if you have if you were able to attach a piece of channel locks or something onto the throttle, you could control it even more by having a lever to push. You could really dial in those little small changes. And so, not that that's necessary, but it is to sort of give you a graphic representation, a graphical, hopefully not graphic, but graphical representation of what I'm talking about. So it kind of explains. So I use the very bottom of the throttle early on when I'm at very low speeds or stopped, and then and if I'm going pretty good, it's not as much of a concern to me because I'm looking for more as much acceleration as I can get at that point. So that's just a little tip that I discovered. I haven't seen this tip anywhere else, but if you're newer and you're trying to get used to a throttle that's a little bit aggressive, and you have a thumb throttle, because of the way it moves, you move your thumb down to the bottom, and you're able to control the acceleration a little bit better. All right, let's talk about where to ride your scooter and where not to, or at least for me, what I found out. You are welcome to ride your scooter wherever you like, and certainly stay away from anywhere that you don't want to ride. But in my experience, and since I've been riding, I don't like to ride on the sidewalks. I'm riding on the sidewalk right now. This is an area where I feel it's necessary for me to ride on the sidewalk, and this particular sidewalk isn't too bad. So I've ridden this before, and so I don't mind. Most of the time, I will ride in the street, even though I only can go 20 miles an hour, which is why I stay mostly on residential roads, unless I have to cross a major intersection or something like that. And then I'll use the crosswalk, as you guys might have noticed. So yeah, I ride in in the streets whenever I can, and on the sidewalk if I don't necessarily have an option to ride in the street or the street's too busy. So yeah, that's yeah, that's my take. I stay on regular roads with plenty of traction as much as possible. I stay on roads where 20 miles an hour is a good speed, which is why, like I said, residential roads, that's perfect. Most cars aren't going too much faster than 25 on those roads anyway. I still do pull over if they come up behind me, which you probably noticed as well. But that's just because they do have the ability to go much faster than I do, and if they want to go 25, 30 miles an hour, I don't want to get in their way. Well, I'm pulling up here to Walmart, so I'll get with you guys when I get going again. All right, I think we were talking about the places to ride and where not to ride, or at least from my perspective, and what I found to be where I like to ride or not. So once again, I try to stay in the streets as much as possible, avoid the sidewalks as much as possible. When I am riding in the street, I like to ride in the middle of the street. You might have noticed that as well. If I pull over to the side, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to allow the traffic to pass. I'm not going to ride on the side of the road while traffic is flying by me. So I don't like to yield the lane to the traffic if I'm moving, and that's just because I've been in situations riding bicycles when I was younger and so forth, and although I did ride most of the time on the sidewalks, if you have to jump in the street, and I'm from Dallas originally, you don't want to get pushed off the side of the road, and the drivers will just whiz right past you, and you barely have any room to move or navigate. That's to me, that's much more dangerous than just simply riding out in the street. So I will, they may not like it, and if I do see them come up behind me, I will pull over unless I'm about to make a turn or something. That I'll hurry up and just get through what I'm doing, and then go on. But yeah, if I stay on residential roads for as much as I can. I am going a different way back than I came here, so you'll get to see a big trail. And actually, it took me a little while to find this trail because I mostly do ride take the residential roads intentionally. So when I'm driving, I like to when I'm riding my scooter, I don't usually take the sidewalks, as I said. But in this particular case, I was heading back from an area, and I decided to try to take this other route, and I found a really nice bike path that was really wide and much better than the sidewalk. And I'll show you guys that here in a bit, because that's where we're heading now. So I missed this this big trail. If you find trails, obviously I think that's probably the best place to ride, is a place that's meant for your scooter or a bike lane. But I'm not talking about the bike lane on the side of the road. I'm more talking about bike paths. I'll avoid bike lanes too. So I don't want to be in a bike lane because once again, you're kind of shoved off to the side of the road, and cars will ignore that you're even there. They'll pull right over on you. They'll run you off the road pretty much. So I don't like bike lanes. Also, it can be a little bit if there's cars on the other side. So I don't like that. I think it's dangerous. So I'll ride in the sidewalk or I'll ride in the road. I ride in the road preferably. If I could get a nice big bike path like we're heading up to now, like I said, that's probably the number one way to go. You don't have to be around traffic, other than other bikes and scooters and so forth, and that's the best. That's 100% the best way to go. But I missed out on it for a while. I had already been riding my scooter a bit and taking residential roads. I actually would go into my GPS and enter my destination so it can guide me down a residential roads. I choose, I'm going on a bike, so I want to stay on bike paths, and it didn't find this bike path for me. It'll take me down a residential roads away from traffic, which I like. But like I said, once I wasn't using my GPS, and I decided to make a detour that I usually don't make, and I found this path that I use now and then. Now when I go this way, so I took the long way here, or I don't know if it's a long way, but not the bike path. It's more turns and down the inner residential roads. On the way back, I'm gonna take this sidewalk for the most part all the way up to the big intersection here, and then once I make a right, there's a bike path that's coming up that will be able to stay on for quite a while. So that's where I like to ride. Like I said, if you can find the bike paths specifically for your type of vehicle, that's great. Otherwise, I stay on low mile per hour roads, and I ride in the middle of the lane. On the right, of course, unless I'm making a left, and then I will get the left lane. As far as signaling, I would prefer to have some turn signals. I don't try to raise my leg off the scooter, because a lot of times, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe doing that. I feel a little bit less stable without both feet on the scooter at the same time. Maybe once I get more comfortable, that won't feel like a big deal to me. But once again, for early riders, I don't like to take my foot off while I'm moving. So that's my perspective on that. Let's talk a little bit about tools and equipment that I take with me. Some that I keep around, but mostly what I take in my backpack. I have a bike lock, which is like a U-lock, and I'll strap it, to a bike rack. That's where I go to when I'm, just like at Walmart. I just go to the bike racks, use my U-lock towards the bottom, and hook it up, and give it. And I also have a cable lock that I run through the U-lock so that I lock up my helmet. You can take your helmet inside. Sometimes I do that if I'm in a hurry, but if I don't want to carry all of that and I have something else, use my hands, I just use a cable lock and run it through the helmet, the face mask of the helmet. I have a full face, and so I just run it through there, and no one ever messes with it. It's more just to keep people from messing with it than anything else. But yeah, I do that, and I usually try not to take too long, so that no one has an opportunity to go to a bunch of trouble to steal my scooter, which I don't anticipate they would do very often. But you never know. So I try to keep the honest man honest, as they say, with a decent amount of protection on my scooter, being the U-lock. That would be pretty tough to get off without a grinder or something like that. And then a pretty thick cable lock or cable that I run through the lock, the U-lock, and attach it, kind of like a large padlock. But that's attached through the bike rack. So pretty much stay, that I bring also a tire gauge and some valve stem extensions in case I need them I will probably at some point, I have an extra tube, but I don't really have an air compressor that I like to carry with me at this point, so I really don't carry that right now. If I had a flat, I would deal with it the same way that I dealt with it before, which is just deal with it when I get home. So I carry that. I carry some pliers and some basic Allen tools to use in case I have to do something on the fly, which I really haven't had to do. So that's more just for emergencies. The lock is the most important thing I think to carry, and then I carry some water. I have a water bottle in my backpack that I carry. It's not always like the coldest or whatever, but in a situation where you will need it, it's nice to have a little water to have if you get a little bit hot and need to stop and take a drink. So those are the basic things I take with me on a daily basis when I'm riding my scooter. So probably water being the most important of all those things. I've been in a couple of situations. One of the first situations where I really decided to start putting water in there is, it was a little hot out, and I went to a park. I was looking at my GPS to see when I was first going around on my scooter. And I found a park, and I thought, well, I can find some water there. There should certainly be a water fountain or something like that, a restroom. And I found water fountains, but they were all non-functional. So I became a little bit, had to take a break and sit, and I didn't have anywhere to get some water. So I cut my trip short and went home and sort of rehydrated myself. But it was tough and kind of took a little bit of a toll on me. So. Yeah, that's my advice on that. The last piece of equipment that I'd like to recommend, which may seem obvious, is a backpack. Obviously, you're going to have some of these things, like your water bottle in your backpack. You can get a carrier, I'm sure, for the scooter, but the backpack allows you to carry everything, as well as your water bottle, your tools, and also anything that you're going to pick up the day. For example, I made a run to Walmart today, and was able to pick up everything I needed and so forth, and use my backpack to carry everything home with me. So I do this all the time. It's very convenient. I'll go to restaurants and get food for my wife and I. I went to the drive-thru at McDonald's, as you guys might have seen in my previous videos. So the backpack comes in really handy, not just for what I'm carrying on my ride all the time, but also picking up things for my while I'm out. Let's talk about terrain type next. And as we're about to see on this path that I'm about to come upon, this is my preferred place to ride. Terrain, what have you. It's a nice wide bike path, nice and off the road, plenty of room. For other riders and so forth. I've seen bikes and scooters on this path, and it's my, like I said, my preferred way to go, and so glad people just see me coming there. But anyway, yeah, see if you see this path here, it's nice and wide. It's got extra on the sides, larger than the normal sidewalk, and it does lead into a more of a bike path. It turns into a bike path all the way. So right now it's more just a large sidewalk, but very nice, very well maintained. That's my other problem with most other sidewalks, is they're not very well maintained, and there's cracks and so forth that can sneak up on you that you're not expecting. Um, that can happen anywhere, but it seems like it happens a lot more often on sidewalks, in my experience since I've been out riding. This path right here is very nice, fairly well maintained. Apparently it's made for this type of commute. So it's perfect. If I had lanes like this everywhere, paths like this everywhere, it would be perfect. I would never use any other type of paths if I could just use something like this to get where I'm going on a daily basis. For off-roading, it's my opinion. I know there's a lot of opinions out there, and everyone has a right to their opinion, and they think that they enjoy it and so forth. But I personally don't think these scooters are made for the hard off-road stuff. I know that there are some that handle it better than others, and certainly a lot more that handle it better than the one I'm riding. Although I have the traction and the dual motors and so forth, so I can handle hills and off-road stuff in that degree. There's no suspension on my scooter, so it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant. It's doable, but it's certainly not pleasant. Even the ones that do have the the beefed up suspension and the larger knobby tires and so forth, like I said, can handle that a lot better. But in my personal experience, in my opinion, my scooter, I don't think I would welcome that type of a ride. It would be more like on an as necessary type of basis. So it'd be nice to have it just in case, but it's not something that I would probably go out and do. So I have actually went out on this scooter to a bike trail, just a regular bike trail, and wanted to see how the scooter would handle it, and I made it all the way through, and I went really slow, and there's things like tree roots, and they can really, if they're just flying through there, it can mess you up pretty bad if you're not paying attention. So I went pretty slow, and made it through okay. The one issue that I did have was I came upon a sort of a ditch that looked like it had been filled in with gravel. And so not just gravel on a path, not just a little bit of loose gravel, but packed gravel on top of gravel. Very loose gravel. So a pit, pretty much a gravel pit that you're going to try to ride through on your scooter. And I would be hesitant to ride through something like this on a bicycle, with much larger tires, just because it sinks so quickly, and it can certainly throw you off. So, but I did try to ride through it on my scooter very slowly to see if I could make it. And once my tires started sinking and the scooter started sliding sideways, and I jumped off. And I kept a hold of the handlebars, and I was able to stay upright, but I quickly jumped off the scooter because I was going down. So I got back, walked the scooter through the gravel, got on top of the other side, and took off again, only to find a ditch right, again full of gravel. So I had to bail one more time. I didn't try to go through this one because of the last one, but I went ahead and walked through that, and that was the last. It was just those two situations that were unmanageable, and I've ran into a couple of those types of really loose gravel, kind of packed on, that I don't feel comfortable going over on this scooter. Those other scooters with the larger tires and the suspension, I probably would feel a little better about. But the deep ditch full of gravel, I don't think I'd recommend it with any scooter, and maybe not every bike. So that's some of my opinions on the terrain. If it's wet out, you're almost better to have a rear wheel scooter than you are a dual motor scooter, from what I understand. And it's because the front wheel can start to spin pretty easily. You don't have as much weight on the front, and if it's wet out, and you can just slide right down. It'll just slide right out from under you. So I recommend, if you do have a a dual motor scooter to turn the back on only if you have the option. You do on this one, you can turn the front on, you can turn the back on, or you can turn both on. I ride dual motor like all the time, and I don't ride around too much in the rain, so it's not that big of a deal. So, but if I got stuck in the rain or something like that, and I had to ride home in the rain, then I will ride with the rear wheel only for that trip, the rest of that trip. You know, like I said, sand, you just got to be really, careful on that kind of stuff. If it's really deep, it's probably not going to have too much left on the scooter. There'll be stuff that's just like loose on a little bit on the top of the path or a dirt path or something like that. Not a big deal. And I would like to have a scooter that was better in case I had to go on a couple of places like that, which I have had to do. There are a couple of my commutes that I have to go on time to time, where I have to go a little bit off road, and yeah, it would be nice to have a scooter with a lot of suspension and large amount of tires and that kind of thing to handle that. But it's not something that personally that I would go try to jump off stuff, something like that. Personally, I'd get a bike if I wanted to do that, and that actually sounds pretty fun. But the scooter, I just don't feel like it's really made for that. Another thing, just next topic, I'm going to talk about like kind of your focus. How to keep focus on everything. So as a new rider, you're going to have a lot going on. Once again, think about where you're putting your feet. Don't think about that too much. Think about how everything's going. You're trying to deal with a million things at once, pretty much. That you're trying to keep, and you're trying to enjoy yourself at the same time. So, I will say that you got to pay attention to traffic. You got to kind of have your head on the swivel, so to speak. You're gonna want to be watching for potholes and imperfections that are coming up. You don't want to look directly below you, but you kind of want to scan ahead, maybe a couple of car lengths or so, just to kind of make sure that you're prepared for anything coming up before it makes it up to you. Probably the easiest way to get into an accident on the scooters, in my opinion, is just coming up on something that you're not expecting. If it's a pothole, even if it's a pothole that's pretty rough, you might be able to avoid it, or you might be able to pull up on the front wheel so that you don't hit so hard on the front and it doesn't throw your balance out of whack. So there's things like that you can plan for if you see it coming, and it's a little more difficult to plan for if you don't. So you don't want to pay attention to like I said, potential cars turning in front of you. I'm pretty sure you guys already seen cars turning in front of me. So I've been out today a couple times, and that's part of it. Whether you're walking, whether you're riding a bicycle, whether you're on a scooter, you just have to pay attention to all traffic around you. Like I said, with the scooter, it's a little bit more keeping an eye on the path too. Also, when I'm thinking about it, another thing that I have to pay attention to, and I guess it goes back to part of the equipment as well that you have to think about, is I carry a pepper spray in my pocket, and for who knows what reason, but I will tell you that one of the more dangerous things that I've had happen to me since I've been riding scooters, as far as potential threat, are that I've had a lot of dogs, chase after me on my scooter. As I said, I ride through a lot of residential neighborhoods and residential roads, so dogs will be in their yard and they want to chase the scooter. So they'll come running out, to me, and of course I'm nervous and I don't want to run over the dog. I don't want to get bit if the dog is aggressive. But what I do in that, how I handle that situation is I'll stop the scooter. I'm not gonna try to speed up and go super fast on the scooter and outrun the dog. If the dog is fast enough to catch me, um, I'll likely get bit and I'll have an accident with the scooter. So at a higher speed. So I'd much rather come to a stop and let the dog and owner, take care of the dog and get the dog under control, so forth, whatever, and then I can go on my way. And so far, I have had good luck as far as that's concerned. No dog has tried to pursue me once I stopped the scooter. I had one. He was another pit bull that wanted to chase me on my scooter. Am I gonna run from a pit bull on my scooter? No, because my scooter only goes 20 miles an hour, and it's once again, it's too much for me to think about. Right? I don't want to think about running from this dog and miss a pothole because I'm scared of the dog chasing me. I'm nervous about hitting the dog, and I don't want to hit a dog either. I don't want to hurt the dog, and I don't want to hurt myself hitting the dog. So I stopped. I stopped the scooter and wait for the dog to turn back around or catch up and sniff me and go on his way. If the dog was aggressive, still when it got to me, that's fine. I have pepper spray. So I probably would tag the dog with pepper spray. Of course, I don't want to pepper spray a dog either, but I think it's the lesser of the evils. If the dog was aggressive, if I thought the dog was going to bite me or the dog bit me, I'm going to pepper spray. I don't want to get bit. The dog will attack me, full on attack, so I would discourage it by with pepper spray. And if it did, I'd call the cops too when people thought it bit me. But it hasn't been that serious yet. It's only been the dog wanting to chase the scooter, and I'm a dog lover. I have dogs, and so I understand that. And so I just stop the scooter so they can get it out of their system and say, okay, I caught them, and go back home. That's fine with me. So I'll give up. You win, got me, game over. And usually that's so far that's all it's ever taken. It's just me stopping and acknowledging, okay, you got me, whatever. And the dog just turned around. The pit bull came up and sniffed me a little bit and went on its way. No big deal. And I'm not afraid of pits as long as you're not acting super, aggressive. And this one wasn't. It seemed more interested in the scooter than me. So definitely carry pepper spray. You never know. Especially, like I said, I've had that happen more than one occasion where a dog will chase after me on my scooter. So just in case, have a little pepper spray on you. Somebody may try to beat you up and take your scooter too, and that'll help. So, but you're likely to get chased by a dog, knocked off your scooter, scooter jacked or whatever. So, yeah, that comes back to the focus thing, distractions like dogs barking. It's going to what do they say? It's going to like that. Those types of people just yelling on you never know what for. And you got to keep doing what you're doing. You got to make sure that you're paying attention to what you're paying attention to. And so you want to stay relaxed, but you want to keep your head on the swivel, and you want to make sure that you're aware of everything kind of going on around you. There's, like I said, there's other people walking, other people on scooters, there's elderly people. I mean, all kinds of situations you can be in here on your scooter that you might not have to worry about on a daily basis otherwise. So it's a little bit of a I would say a unique experience in that regard. I don't spend a lot of time on sidewalks, certainly on a vehicle that can go 20 miles an hour. That wouldn't be something I've ever done, too much. I could when I was a kid, I rode my bike around. It was just a BMX, wasn't flying around on that thing like I said, like I was on a downhill or I really got going. on a smooth part of the road or something like that, and then probably gonna be for a short burst. And so your ability to keep that kind of speed with your legs is not as simple. But with an electric scooter or a bike and throttle, it's a lot easier. So it's a little more dangerous, and I think you gotta think about a lot more, I think. And like I said, including other people, especially if you're gonna be on the sidewalks. You know, it's a critical piece of precaution. I'll say, you know, it's just to keep those. I'll pull over every time. I'll pull over. I'm on the sidewalk and someone is walking. I'll wait. I'll go around them, or if they're coming past me, if it's another scooter, I'll let them have the whole sidewalk, unless it's that large path. Like I said, it's not necessary. But if I'm on a small path, I'll yield to the other person, bike, scooter, whatever, and I'll step off to the side, and let it go ahead, and I get back on, going on my way. So that's how I handle that situation. But you never know what a car is going to do. You never know what someone, so like I said, you got to kind of keep your head on swivel at all times. Well, I'm here actually, like I said, I'm going to grab some food, and then get back heading back. So I'll get back with you guys when I get going again. All right, got the food and drinks in the backpack, like I said, and taking some grub home to the old lady. So yeah, back to what we were saying and talking about, kind of keeping your head on the swivel and being extra aware. Like I said, I mean, I know probably motorcycle riders feel the same way, and I think possibly it's a little more dangerous for them because they're in the street all the time. But it's not necessarily as dangerous for others because probably don't run into like pedestrians and so forth on the sidewalks. So, like when I have to ride a scooter on the sidewalk. So I do think it takes a high level of attention to detail and hyper focus, like I said, when you're riding a scooter around. So I want to talk about turning. It may seem kind of silly to talk about, turning on a scooter, but I think it bears, spending a little time to discuss if you're not good on a scooter. So, scooters have small wheels, and turning sometimes can seem, like it seems pretty simple. You just turn and so forth, and it's not that big of a deal. But I hear you have to go slow. You have to go slow, especially in the beginning. If you're a beginning rider, take your turns really slow. I do anyway. I mean, I'm a beginner, and so I don't push those kind of limits because I'm not comfortable pushing those kind of limits. Say I heard a lot of people say you lean, and you start taking turns, leaning more than you do turning the wheel. And my opinion is let that come naturally. Don't force that. So, because early on when I'm practicing, I'm watching videos, I'm learning how to brake and learning how to accelerate and so forth and turn. I tried to, I started feeling comfortable, moving around a bit. I was like, I think I'm going to try the turn leaning thing. So I got a parking lot where I'd go and practice my speed when I first got the scooter and got comfortable with, each gear and so forth. So I decided to go, practice some of the turns, and how to weave, on the scooter, curve, or carve, or as they say. And I almost a wheel almost went sideways because I was trying to get a feel for, you know, curving and leaning and so forth and turning, you know, at the same time. And it just I almost my tire went whoop and it almost like flipped me over, so I stopped that. And more, and like I said, it's a little bit, it's coming, you know, that kind of that, you know, being able to do that and make those maneuvers is coming more naturally as I ride the scooter. But I'll say don't force that. You know, don't force those things. When it comes to turning, you know, I've seen some videos putting their feet sideways, completely not side by side, but spread apart sideways, and the scooter facing the same direction versus facing forward, so that you can, you know, kind of use it more like a snowboard or something like that. Like I said, carving. But I just don't recommend that until you're really comfortable. I don't do it, and that's just, you know, from a beginner's perspective, it's not something that I'll be trying anytime in the near future. Once I get a lot more comfortable and so forth, I may try that. But for the moment, I take my turns slow. I do lean a bit more than I used to. I'm getting comfortable with that, and if I need to maneuver a little quickly, I can. So I kind of got the feel for this scooter and my own, you know, way that I like to maneuver it. So even if I got another scooter, I still would be very cautious to do something like that until I got the feel for it. So whether you're a new rider or you just got a new scooter, probably good. Which kind of brings me to my last point, which is work your way up. You know, don't think that you got to get it all the first day, and you're gonna go out. I mean, this scooter only goes 20 miles an hour, but I rode it in the parking lot several times before I was comfortable going up all the way to top speed. I rode over there to the parking lot in, you know, the lowest gear when I first got the scooter, and only once I was comfortable with that gear did I kick it up to the next gear. And I did kick it up all 3 gears that day. But then when I left the parking lot, I kicked it back down to 2nd gear because I just wasn't comfortable going on the streets that fast. I didn't have the control of the throttle. It was pulling me a lot. So I didn't like being in situations outside of a parking lot that that I couldn't control. You know that. So till I got full control. Now I do it without thinking about it. I ride around, you know, top speeds a lot, you know, without even you know, knowing, just because that's how comfortable I am. So let it come to you. Let it come to you. Work your way up. Get used to it, and then you'll love your scooter. And so that's all I'm gonna talk about today. Just wanted to kind of go over those finer points. Guys, be safe out there, and happy riding.